Okay, as promised, Lauren and I have returned to talk about The Evil Within 2, which is a lot faster than I thought we'd be able to.
Yeah, this is the quickest we've done one of these.
Yeah, for a Spoilercast, and it just so happens that, just like the first game, it's not that long. So the footage that you're going to be seeing is just basically the entirety of the game all the way till the end, but not as we're talking about the subjects, because that would take a lot of work to get a lot of footage.
What do you think, we are professionals?
For specific things, but basically it's a little retrospective of all the big highlights that you're going to go through the game, but just something to have in the background as you listen to us yak away. And as I said, this is a spoiler cast, so everything is out in the open. If you haven't finished it yet, maybe wait to finish this off, or if you just don't even care about the story, then go ahead, listen
to us. Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to basically start at the very beginning and then talk about mechanics as they come along naturally in the game itself. And yeah, okay, so the beginning. I with all the commercials and stuff, I figured that we'd start with a fire.
Yeah, I figured if it wasn't the first thing it opened up to, we'd be dealing with what happened when his house burned down at some point. And as it was the first thing that you dealt with.
It was kind of a cool beginning. You try to save your daughter,
he looked
and
goofy.
Then
I don't know.
Without facial hair, he looks very weird.
He looked weird.
Well, even after in the actual bar scene, he looks better.
He looks better, but if you put them side by side, he looks nothing like Sebastian from the first game.
I don't think it's that strong of a significant difference. It's different.
He looks fine, but yeah.
The one that's way off is Kidman.
Yeah, Kidman looks different, but...
And the point of where they're sitting across from each other, I'm like, I think that's supposed to be Kidman, but I don't think so. That's way off.
But yeah, that diner scene, I was a little, I was hoping it was going to be good, but I was a little nervous. And then that diner scene after you wake up from the dream about the fire, and you have that shot of him waking up from 4 different angles, and I was like, what have I gotten myself into?
It's strange. So basically,
it was such a undramatic thing to need 4 different angles of waking up from, but whatever.
He's drinking his problems away. Apparently,
still, I guess.
Yeah, drinking his problems away for some amount of time, and then Kidman comes in and says, You gotta go back. We got you. Yeah, you gotta go back. We got your daughter, and she's alive, and he's upset, obviously. And then Men in Black.
I guess refresher, in the first game, it was established that his daughter died in a house fire, and then his wife went missing looking for his daughter. Because
we covered that in the other spoiler.
We did, but
so. Then, God, the entirety of the beginning is so slow. The fire scene, the table scene, the bar, then you're in a wheelchair, and then you meet this menacing guy with black eyeliner.
He was in the Kidman DLC for the first game.
Okay, so he wasn't out of the blue.
He wasn't out of the blue. He was in the DLC.
Because he came out of the darkness. I'm like, we're supposed to know who this guy is.
The antagonist in the Kidman DLC, but...
So then he actually gets in. But he gets in this super weird, not a mausoleum. Yeah, I guess a hotel or an apartment or just... It's very trippy, just kind of the entirety of
Yeah, it had some good moments where, you go through it, and then you go through a door, and you're right back at the beginning, but it's Silent Hill, everything a little creepy, and...
You look, and then you turn... Yeah, you look, and you turn around, and something's there that it wasn't there before, and it's just... I was like, man, I can't believe how really, really slow it got.
But nothing to beat, the first game with the mass murder and Rubik and then running from the chainsaw guy. It was very slow in comparison to that.
And eventually we finally get to the actual open world of Union, which is, I guess, a fun name because the last city was Crimson City, so it just... Union, because everyone's minds are meld together. It isn't that quaint.
And you're looking for your daughter, who's the core, and she's missing. And Union's now all messed up. It's falling apart. There's bits of it floating in the sky. And so they sent you in to find her because they want you to, hook her back up. And obviously you have other ideas about that.
Right. So it's just this nice big forest area, but it's still a little slow because you don't have a gun yet. And then you see this woman run into a house, and this very graphic scene of her
It was really graphic.
feeding him like worms or slop, and then slamming his face, and like it was very
this kid, not you.
Yeah, it was very Resident Evil 7 and like PT to me. Like, wow, they're really going for that really grotesque
actually
look.
Maybe one of the more graphic things in the game. They're most unsettling.
There's a couple things that they do that is very Silent Hill and Resident Evil, and then they kind of shy away from. They do it like once, and they're like, "Oh, we don't want to
copy it.
We don't want to do that thing anymore."
Yeah. It was very effective.
Yeah, and then you get your gun, and that's still not quite where the game opens up. But eventually,
it's not too far though.
You run into the SWAT. What are they called?
The Mobius extraction team that they had sent in before you to try and find.
Right,
Lily.
they sent in their version of STARS into this world, and you run away from a bunch of like weird, grotesque zombies.
Yeah,
and
what
then
are they? The Lost in this game, or
I can't.
I remember. They say, but
then it's like, okay, that was really hard. I didn't have enough ammo to fight off all those zombies. So what is this game going to be? And then this is actually where the game starts to happen. So I think this is maybe like an hour in. I would say maybe a little bit less.
Yeah, probably 45 minutes, depending on how long you explore that hotel area, or if you just like blow through it.
Which, compared to some games, may take longer for tutorial setup.
It's chapter 3 where it opens up.
Which is strange. But, I mean, those chapters aren't even that long.
No.
Anyway, so right from the get-go, you talk to this guy, and he basically gives you missions, and you have actual, like, a dialogue tree, but not really. It's like they wanted to give you choices. It's
basically just a way to get more information, and if you don't want the other information, you don't have to do the dialogue choices. I don't think it has any impact on gameplay. It's just how much information on the world you'll get.
So this part of the game was actually a huge surprise to me, because I watched that initial trailer at E3, and then I'm like, okay, they're making a sequel. I literally don't need to see anything else. I want to be surprised, because I know this is going to be like a more linear game, and the horror parts is what's surprising about the game, so I didn't want to have anything spoiled for me. And so I was actually really happy when there was a lot of stuff in there that I had no idea was going to come to me, like this semi-hub open world kind of thing.
And I knew about the open world, and I was a little nervous about it, just because, I don't know.
There's so many open worlds.
There's so many open worlds. It's a horror game, and in the ads, I don't know, everything they showed for the open world looked kind of boring. It reminded me a lot of Downpour, Silent Hill Downpour, but in the end, I think I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. Like, the open world was fun to explore. I love, like, you'd go into a random house, and then all of a sudden you start this little submission, and those were really cool. So,
I loved it. This is what I want the Resident Evil 2 remake to be. It just was like, okay, here's a dilapidated cities, zombie and monsters running around. There's little missions you're going to. It just felt like this weird survival horror open world kind of thing where there's a lot of things you could do just running around a neighborhood like that.
I can see that being great for like Resident Evil 2, and it worked pretty well with this. I just wish there had been more really weird stuff that happened.
And unique. I think you pretty much get everything new that the game is kind of throwing at you with the open world in that first couple chapters before you get...
It's cool because you can skip the open world bit if you want. You can just go right ahead to the main mission. But you're not going to get the shotgun. You're not going to get the Agony/Warden crossbow. You're not going to get the sniper rifle. Like, that's all out from doing these little side missions and just exploring the main area.
Pretty much all these side missions are just new ways for you to get equipment. There's only one set of side missions that are actually unique, that you meet people or you meet a different scenario. And I really hope if they somehow make a third game that there is more of a actual subtle different stories that are not part of like the main game, because there's only one, and that's the beacon stuff.
The beacon, which was awesome. I wanted more of that. Like, if there had been like 2 or 3 more of those missions scattered around through like the world, or not even beacon, but similar ones that took you to someplace crazy, like switched and messed with the environment. That's what I think the open world was missing. It was missing that. The whole game was kind of missing that environment twisting that the first game had. Like, it had it, but it wasn't there as much as the first game.
Yeah, so basically, you wander into this one house, and eventually, things go dark? Is that how
Well,
it
you
begins?
follow it in because you have your communicator, and it picks up signals. And so you pick up a signal, and you go into the house, and you find whatever the signal was bringing you towards. And it's a note about how this lady thinks her house is haunted. And then, like, you go to leave, and all of a sudden it gets really cold, and then, like, a bookcase flies into the door, and then you turn around, and there's just this creepy ghost lady silhouetted. And if you don't play with headphones, which I wasn't, like, it comes out of the controller, which scared the crap out of me.
This is the first game I played entirely in headphones. I just plugged them into the controller and turned the lights off, and always waited to play this game at dark, which is actually hard to, like, what's it called? Marathon through when you're only, like, limiting yourself to, like, the darkness period.
The darkness. But yeah, it was so cool, and, like, she takes you back, and you're not in an exact location from Beacon, but you're definitely in, like, a mental hospital, and well, at one point you do end up in an exact location, and I love that because you go back to the hospital from, I think, chapter 5, and you're walking down the hallway, and then there's the wheelchair, and the game goes back into the cinematic widescreen mode for that portion, and I just thought that was a really cool little touch Easter egg.
It is, but we might as well talk about it here since this is a spoiler cast. I think it falls pretty flat. There's like 5 missions to this entire thing, something like that.
That lady, there's 3.
Okay, 3.
There's 3. There could have been so many more.
And she's actually kind of, except for a couple other instances, she's like one of the very few like instant kills in this game. Which
she got me once.
Real quick, this game doesn't, thankfully.
It's got a couple, but doesn't have nearly as many insta kills as the first game.
That made it a lot easier, or at least more manageable.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's 3, I guess. I thought there was way more.
Only 3.
But there's actually, did you run into the random encounter she was in?
Yeah, she will show up randomly after you trigger her in an area.
Okay, so you get this first house, and then you escape, and then she's kind of like the nemesis, or like a random battle in Final Fantasy, where you're running around the world, and then all of a sudden, it just becomes like dark, and she follows you, and all you gotta really do is just kind of run away, and then eventually it'll like dissipate. It's kind of strange.
Just avoid her. And then in chapter 7, there's you trigger her, and then there's like another scripted event where you get a key to this like house with a bunch of like weapons and items in there. And so if you go in there, when you go to leave, it's locked, and then she shows up, and there is nowhere for you to hide. There's nowhere to go, and so she catches you and kills you, but then you just wake up back where you...
I don't think she just kind of like goes through you, and then you kind of just wake up or whatever. But yeah, it's just kind of strange. They never really talk about what she is. She knows who
she's... I think they called her like Anima, I think, in all the stuff I've seen, but I think she's just like a personification of the bit of Sebastian that never got over Beacon.
Yeah, okay, so that's the entire plot of this sub-quest thing, that you keep on going back to like the hospital, and your whole brain is like, oh, you blame yourself for everything that basically happened.
And then, basically at the end, like, you find yourself lying on a gurney, and you realize, oh, this is the part of me that's not letting go, and Sebastian, like, kills his other self to, like, get over that, which was cool. But then, later in the game, like, you're still blaming yourself, and you fight Father Theodore, who ends up being, like, the bad guy, and he's bringing up, like, all the monsters from Beacon, and you're fighting those...
We'll get to that, yeah. Well, I guess we can talk about it
It just seemed like the timing of that last Anima mission could have been placed differently.
Yeah, there's 2 separate parts where you put the past behind you.
Yeah, you do it twice.
And it's strange. It's like a very cool idea that wasn't very well implemented. And that's really like the only actual side quest that actually has new story content. Everything else is just small little things where you get equipment, and maybe you'll find a file of why this guy's a sniper rifle or something like that.
Or you get the slides. There's a slide projector in your safe room, and you can get slides sometimes from the quests.
So this hub world thing was like super cool, but it does wear thin because a lot of the environments there's 2 different sections of the cities that you go to. There's the underground. There's Theodore's weird devil palace. There's like the snow world, and that's pretty much it. Oh, and then you go back inside like the photo place.
Yeah, there's like Stefano's world.
Yeah.
And yeah, what I liked about the first game was all the different like spooky environments that you went to.
But I'm glad they didn't do that again, because if they actually just did that again, I think I would have been a little bit more tired.
It would have been, yeah, and I guess there was no reason to do that again. And I missed like the crazy transitions that the first game had, but
yeah, like dropping through a hallway.
Yeah,
and
but I guess
else.
Since you're not really going to that, like you're not changing areas, you're in the city. You go to the weird underground that connects the city. You go to buildings inside the city, and those sometimes get twisted by whoever's there. The only time you really travel anywhere is when you go to Father Theodore's weird torture church place.
I really did not like having to go through the tunnels.
No.
Over and over again, because those environments were like super
They were boring.
Yeah.
They were boring.
And they were just kind of weirdly connected.
At least the city was interesting. The city's still like much better, but it still reminds me of the open world from Silent Hill Downpour. But much better content, quests, and look. But
I kind of wish there was like some form of fast travel that made it that you couldn't just have to go to a computer, wait for it to load, and then get out.
It's like, why do I have to access it again? Why can't you just load me into the area?
Yeah, it's strange. But before we move on to that, real quick, the mechanics are very similar to the other game. But the one thing that's different is all the upgrades and the crafting systems that you have. And, you know, in the other game, when we talked about the other Spoilercast, we talked about how it was weird that the green gel upgraded your weapons.
Yep.
And they fixed that, but they made you collect a lot more things, and they kind of overcomplicated it. Because...
Well, because you're not just collecting, like, weapon parts. You also have to get the special weapon parts to get past a certain point, and you have to get
also there's red gel. Yes, there's red gel that unlocks new.
That didn't really bother me too much, and I liked you had the workstations, but you could also craft on the fly if you needed to.
But it costs a little bit more.
But it costs more.
That actually took me a little bit to figure out. I was like, oh, wait a minute.
But I didn't really use the crafting too much, I guess.
I did towards the end of the game because I kind of tried to stick with just my guns. So I crafted a lot of gun bullets.
But I liked the controls were all the same, except the one thing they changed was the crouch you used to have the option to have it be a toggle or just press and hold. And I prefer press and hold. I don't mind holding down the button. I don't think I ever quite got used to that towards the end of the game, because I'd be crouching and I'd be holding the button down even though I didn't need to, and then something would come and attack me, and I'd be like, all right, let's get up and run, and I'd let go of the button, but I'd still be crouched.
Did you ever use cover having to hold that down?
I used it a couple times, but... Oh, I said cover to hold. You didn't.
Okay, I thought you meant duck, crouching to hold.
Yeah, no, crouch you don't need to hold, but I held it anyway, and I wish you needed to hold it.
Oh, okay. That's what you're trying to say.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, so I mean, they kind of overcomplicated things. So basically you can craft your own ammunition and healing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Also in the little safe houses there's coffee that you can drink. So that was nice that you could actually have something.
Was the only thing that would heal you fully. And it would replenish after, I never timed it, but 15, 20 minutes maybe.
Something like that, yeah. And you can also upgrade your weapons, and you also have special bolts to unlock further parts of the weapons.
Mm-hmm. And
you also get multiple weapons of the same type, which I did not like because it was strange. It's way late in the game. It felt really late in the game that you get the silenced pistol.
It was a little bit. I never used, after I got the pistol with the laser sight, I never used anything else. I used the shotgun sometimes. I think I pretty much only used the default shotgun.
There are two weapons that I did not use that I used a lot in the first game. It's the crossbow.
I barely used the crossbow.
The reason why I used it a lot in the first game was that's the only ammo you could craft, whereas this one you can craft everything, so it just felt a little more useless, and it also didn't seem that effective. I actually shot the bolts, and they never seemed to go in or stick or anything like that.
I think this game had some hitbox issues, I thought, anyway.
For sure, yeah. There's times where I'm directly aiming my arrow at you, and then it just never clicked. Or even, the blast arrows never, connected. Yeah. And it was... Or,
I used pretty much my main weapon in the game was the laser sight pistol. And it's it's definitely on you, and it just wouldn't connect. And so, yeah, it definitely had some hitbox issues.
Do you actually have any glitches in the game?
No.
I had one funny one where I was running away from the ghost lady, and I ran into a garage, and the garage didn't want to be rendered, so I was passing through desks and stuff, right in the middle of stuff.
Yeah, I don't think I.
But that was it. It didn't glitch anything.
I had some clipping issues, but I didn't have anything major or funny.
which is strange for a Bethesda game.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, what did you think of all the Bethesda collectibles? Just kind of like a nice little
I
fun
thought
nod,
it,
but there's a lot of things that you probably didn't even like get in there. Since you
there was only one that I didn't know, and I looked it up, and it was the Quake rocket launcher. Everything else I knew what it was from.
the dog,
The from Wolfenstein.
yeah,
hmm
that was the first one I think you are supposed to find or maybe come across. I'm
Um,
not sure. I guess it
no, the
depends.
first one I found was Corvo's mask.
Oh yeah, I forgot. There's so many things in there that are kind of neat,
Yeah,
but they didn't
it was
really
cute. Like,
do much. I thought it'd be kind of cool if you got some kind of other little trinket from there, or maybe a
yeah.
weapon from one of the games. There's none of that. Did I miss that?
You get his revolver from the first game.
Yeah. Wait. That's. Yeah, I guess.
But yeah, no, you don't get like the Quake rocket launcher or anything like that. I don't think.
Okay. So we kind of basically talked about all the mechanics and how this game is. Let's go into small little notes about questions I have. There's your safe room now is your office, which is kind of a cool police headquarters kind of thing,
hmm
with a lot of different things going around
I
in
like
there.
there was one magazine in there with a picture of Kidman on it from like the promotional art, but they like turned it into a perfume ad.
Okay, that's weird. I didn't see
Yeah,
that.
I was like, all right, that's like promotional Kidman art from the first game, but now it's a perfume ad.
Okay, so
I was glad to see Tatiana back.
yeah, and then once you do
Which
all those missions, she reveals herself to be like your inner self or something, but that doesn't make sense because she's an actual person
yeah.
that you seemingly never met. So why
No,
would you?
Kidman saw her in the Kidman DLC, but yeah.
It's yeah, her whole thing was kind of weird. I thought, okay, that brings me to a point: is who do you think that cat was supposed to be?
The cat is from the Kidman DLC. That was how you save the game in the Kidman DLC. You
Oh.
go into like Kidman.
That's
save
really
room.
it. Wow,
But
I
I
spent
don't-
a lot of the game like theorizing who that cat is.
I don't know if the cat was supposed to be somebody from that. I never played the Kidman DLC. But
Well, at the end, it leads you to your chair, and I
Yeah.
thought that
I was like,
was
is the cat Tatiana?
that's what I thought. But then she comes back, it's like, okay, it's not. For a long time, I thought, okay, maybe this is Joseph, but that never came.
I was glad to get Joseph confirmed.
Okay, we can talk about that next then.
Alright.
So talk about the office.
Alright.
So basically, there's a photo slide thing that the cat jumps away from, and you go through the small snippets of your memory,
And
and
you
the
talk
cat
to Kidman.
and to talk to Kidman, and then the cat will give you some green gel. The final one you get is a picture of Joseph, and the entire game, I'm like, why aren't they talking about him?
They like purposely didn't mention him.
Yeah, they purposely didn't mention him. They even said like,
There was,
here's
like-
something you've been avoiding this entire time.
There
Like,
was one time, like, in a flashback where, in one of the beacon missions, where they're like, well, you and Detective Oda, and that was, like, it. And I was waiting the whole game.
yeah, I thought Joseph was going to be a bigger
So
part.
I'm hoping for, like, Joseph DLC, or Kidman and Joseph DLC.
That's what I thought too, but I'm like, I don't. Why with all this DLC stuff? Come on, I just.
Yeah.
To me, I think maybe that they're saving things out for like another game because there's another big missing person that I thought would be behind this game, and that's Ruvik or actually Leslie.
Not even mentioned.
Yeah,
I
not.
mean, besides, like, talking about Beacon, but
Yeah, I
thought there'd be something.
so. That's kind of my big problem with the game. Is
I
there
like
was like
how
a
it
lack.
tied into the first game, but it didn't tie in enough to the first game.
There was okay, so this time, like technically, the bad guys are Mobius, and that's fine, but none of them or none of the Mobius people felt like big bad guys. There was the random photo killer,
Which
who was not connected.
I liked him, but if you'd taken him out of the story, you'd have the exact same story. Like, he didn't really do anything.
And then you have Father Theodore, who was
Who-
not actually a priest.
He was.
So his whole thing was, why are you priest?
I guess we should kind of get into this. Is Myra's alive, and she's been working with Mobius because she found out they had her daughter, and so she gets in and starts working for them, and then picks a few people to help her steal her daughter, which is Father Theodore Wallace, Torres, and Kidman. And they got this big plan to like go in and save the daughter, and Myra's going to take her place as the core.
And then things
And
go
then
bad.
Theodore's like, just kidding, I'm not really on your side. I want the power of the core myself because I want to be able to control Mobius because they're such a powerful organization. And so that's why Father Theodore's in there trying to find your daughter. And
But his whole thing is just basically having the golden tongue.
yeah,
He's not really in your. He has like these weird
like
fire demons, and his whole thing doesn't really match.
Yeah.
That well, and actually, like you said before, his final boss is giving you all the bosses from the previous game.
So his thing is he's trying to just consume you with guilt. It's your fault what happened to Lily. It's your fault what happened at Beacon, and basically just trying to get to you through your guilt. And then, like, before you really confront him, you get over Beacon, but apparently you don't, because when you confront Father Theodore, you have to get over Beacon again by fighting all the bosses from the first game, which was cool.
I thought it was cool. You finally get to kill the chainsaw person, and you have so much blood in you.
And
the safe people. I got so excited when they came back.
The safe people were great, and then Laura came back. And man, I had a tough time with Laura this last time I played the first game, and immediately I got cornered, and I was like, man, I hope they took her one-hit kill out of this game. No, they didn't. She still like pins you to the ground and smashes your head in. And it's like, oh, come on.
I used the flamethrower to like take her down in that scene too.
I did it the hard way. There were like these levers around that you had to turn, so you had to like stun her so she wouldn't run at you. And then,
okay.
Yeah.
That fight was like very, very easy for me. And
flamethrower probably would have been. I don't think I used the flamethrower once. The one time I tried to use the flamethrower, I guess that would have been my one glitch. Like Sebastian's arm kind of broke and just started like windmilling in place. And then all those wax monsters from the end of the game came and smacked me around a bit.
The other big bad, technically, is your wife, who has a weird... Okay, so the entire time...
She's got a very Rubik costume.
I was unsure of what the whole cover was, you being like this white liquid.
Yeah. And I don't know if it was wax. I always called it wax. But it reminded me of the liquid that the STEM machine tubs are filled with.
Oh, maybe that's what I was trying to reference. But yeah, it looked like glue or something like that to me. But you first encounter like that glue monster in that one area underground. And that's the only time that ever appears until like the end of the game. Yeah. Even though on the cover I felt like there's supposed to be like more with that. But basically there's a part of Myra that's like...
Myra got corrupted by STEM.
Yeah.
Basically, after being in there.
Two parts
it's not clear how long that she was in there, but... While she was in there, I think her desire to protect Lily was so strong it kind of got corrupted.
But she has like ice powers, but also is like covered in wax. So
I thought it was a cool look.
It was a cool look.
I was like, man, what's with the
it didn't quite match though.
Main villains being like these white robed?
But also her is just like robed around her breast, and then she has a giant midriff.
Yes. Yep.
So that was kind of strange, and I thought like, well, I'm not going to kill my wife, am I? And then...
you gave it a good go.
Yeah, but okay, so going back to the whole, like, evil killer who's behind this whole thing, I thought it would have been a cooler thing if there was a lot more bad guys, and that maybe seems like it was a budget constraint where...
Like, the bad guys that were in there were really cool. Like, I thought the monsters in the first game were cool, and I thought these were almost even cooler. Yeah, it needed more?
It needed more or more concise, like... What if, I mean, it wouldn't make sense for the story of this game, but I thought about, like, well, what if he just goes inside, like, the mind of, like, 10 killers, and every single chapter is you going after, like, another psychopath and their, like, whole psyche? Because the whole camera thing, that was a cool thing.
That was cool.
Theodore's health thing didn't make sense, but I guess it was cool if it had more to it. Mm-hmm. And that's really it. And then Myra's kind of weird place, but I
thought towards the end of the game, like after you killed Theodore, I thought it started to drag just a little bit. They kind of kept repeating some stuff that you already had like gotten, and
you like new places in the world kind of opened up, but it was like a different time of day. But you could do more stuff, but it was the exact same environment. Yeah, it was
it just. You know, we talked about in the first game, like how Sebastian never talked. In this game, he really didn't shut up that often. But it was just like, yeah, we get it. Just let's get on with it a little bit. It was just
they listen to
just
feedback.
A little drawn out.
They listen to feedback, but they overcompensate. Yeah. I think was the main problem.
I don't want to sound like I didn't like the end. I just a little drawn out.
That final one of the coolest boss designs I think is his wife turning into like basically it looks like one of the monsters from Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
It's just weird and that was
big glowing weak spots.
Yep.
Very Resident Evil.
Very Capcom with that.
Yep.
That was cool. I also loved like the hair doll design for the photographer with like all the different heads. Also the Obscura, that was
The
a cool
Obscure was
thing.
really cool. I mean, it was good for me gameplay wise, but the fight with Obscura, the first one when you're with the stable field emitter, she like glitched onto a wall. And so she's just running and running, but she would never like actually come at me. She just kept running into the wall. And so I just sat there and waited out the time because she wasn't doing anything other than running into the wall. And so it was like such a cool design. And then it was like, well, that kind of ruined it a little bit. So I was happy we got to see her for a little bit later.
It was kind of weird that like every single person that helped you out just kind of died.
It was very taking that like horror story cliche to that level. Like it just seemed like.
Also, they never were they. Did I miss a document that said if that one guy escaped or not?
No, that was totally up in the air. That guy that went into that other tub, and then
remember.
they're like, "Oh, there's a 1 in 4 chance he made it."
I can't remember what his name is, but yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, everyone like the weirdest one to me was who is the girl that helps you out at the end with that weird stick?
Yukiko.
She has like the weird stick thing
Yeah.
that makes the barrier,
The
and
portable stable field emitter.
and then basically she sacrificed herself so you can run away, and it was just kind of like weird, like oh, everyone is just sacrificing themselves for you, and
like those people, like you meet Torres, who was in on the whole plan, but like those other people, they weren't in on the plan to like save your daughter.
And they weren't soldiers either. It was weird.
Yeah.
I still don't understand how the STEM system works. Like,
okay, that's what I wanted to get into. So like Union was popularized by like hundreds of people, but the STEM machine, there's not hundreds of beds. Like there's some talk about like wireless connectivity.
They said everybody has a chip in their head that connects everybody, and that's how they're able to like kill everybody at the end. But
very Kingsman.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just don't quite understand. But I think O'Neill summarized it best. You don't have to understand how it works, just as long as it works.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, is that your motto for the plot?
That's your magic thing. It's like how does this work? That's magic. Don't think about it.
Yeah.
But that's the entire thing. I was like, okay, so this world is popularized by actual people that live here.
All those, for lack of a better word, zombies that you fight are real citizens, real people that are hooked into the STEM machine.
And then when you think about that, and you think about like the guns, and there's actual like ammo drops and stuff like that, I'm like, how are these things manifesting in this world?
And I also like how they still never really said like how you get out of STEM. They like talk about extraction points and get to the extraction point, but they don't like talk about what that is. Like the first game, you only got out because you went and you destroyed the core. You like destroyed Ruvik's brain.
There's like a lore to this, but it's not fully filled in.
And
like, why can't you just imagine a gun? And why are people living in this dream world? I just don't understand like how this thing works.
But this isn't a case of like missing the documents because I found all the documents and they didn't. I do like that this game was less vague. It spelled it out more for you. Like the first game, you needed the documents to understand even what was going on, and even then you had to like do some conjecture. This game was, this is what's happening.
Pretty straightforward.
Here's some documents that expand on it a little bit, but none of the documents were like, oh, if I hadn't gotten this document, I wouldn't know what was going on. They were all like add-ons and stuff, and I did like that.
Yeah. I guess one final thing is it was cool, I guess, to play as Kidman, but those segments were like very. It was just like cover shooter, but you couldn't even like move really.
Yeah, there was like one section where you could move, but others you couldn't.
It was like, oh, this should be like a big moment, but it
would have
really
been better
wasn't.
if you had just been full control.
Yeah, and yeah. So it was kind of like the moment that just kind of fell flat, which I think there's a lot of moments that just kind of fall flat. I think basically to summarize everything is that there's a lot of good ideas, just like the first one. They weren't implemented well.
I liked a lot of better than the first one, but not all of it.
I
like that they did end it. Like they wrapped everything up. Like they had that little teaser at the end, at the very end of the credits. They left it open.
The actual end was weird that his wife stays behind to destroy STEM, and then he saves his daughter, and then them and Kidman get away, but they don't stay together.
Nope.
They drive off in a car to move someplace else and leave Kidman behind at some weird
roadside
station. Yeah. It's like, it looks like this world is unpopulated.
It did. But I did like that, they just kind of went for like, you can have like a horror game, and it can have a happy ending. It can have...
So...
It doesn't have to be left up in the air.
Sequel, do you think that it's going to be like Kidman from here on out?
I don't know. I think we wrapped up Sebastian's story, so it could be, but I don't know. I still, like, she's okay, but I don't like Kidman that much.
No, I don't either, especially because they, like, changed the voice and, like, the look, and I don't know, it's weird. Just a weird game, but I think I do like it more than the first one, just because just that beginning open world was really cool, and then you kind of start to see, like, there's not much to it, but that first initial glance at it was really cool.
And it added again to the new trend of the sad, angsty dad-tagonist.
Yeah, yeah, the dad-tagonist.
I'm okay with it. You can keep up the trend of the dad-tagonist.
Yeah. Okay, any Final Fantasy that we didn't cover, or...?
Oh, I'm sure there are, but at the moment, I can't really think of anything.
I think of all the notes I took, I think every single thing. Oh, one last thing. What do you think about that one super weird first-person segment that they never went back to again?
Oh, the gas mask segment?
There's a place in the basement where you have to put your gas mask on to make it through this poisonous area, and it's in first person, and you have to kill two different things in first person, and that's it. They don't go back to that again. It's just a weird idea that you put in there. You have to use your knife, like knife action. It's like, this should be in VR, but it's not supported by VR, so I'm not sure why this is
that was weird. I guess it didn't leave a big impression one way or another, but now that you brought it up again, that was a weird, just little segment.
I almost forgot about it. I thought about it in the car ride over here, and then I'm like, I better not forget about that again. Yeah. All right, well, thank you for joining us.
I think if you like the first one, you'll like this one.
Definitely.
If you didn't like the first one, this one might have changed enough that you might want to give it a shot.
Anyway, thank you for joining us. Is there anything we left out that you want to talk about? Did we get something wrong, etc.?
Probably got something wrong.
Name everything that we got wrong. Okay, thank you for joining us. Until next time.
See you guys.
Bye. My name is Tristan, and you've been watching Reaction Examiner, wherein I do my best to create interesting videos to entertain and educate you fine folks. Be sure to subscribe, that helped me out a lot. And if you want to check out more, be sure to read my work over on The Gamer, wherein I write fun little listicles. You can also drop by my personal website, GameJerk, wherein I post other articles and reviews. All these links and more can be found in the description below. Thanks, and see you all next time.